In this lesson, we're going to take a look at voices from literature and the impact vocal delivery can make on understanding characterization. This is based off of Activity 4.3 in Springboard. So let's go ahead and preview what we're going to be doing. For materials, you're going to need your device, some sort of headphones because we are going to be watching some video. Your Springboard book will also be useful, especially the glossary, and some papers or your interactive notebook to take notes with. Today we're going to be analyzing a scene from a known play. This is a play that you guys have probably read before, especially in 9th grade, and we're going to be using this to determine how a writer develops a character through indirect and direct characterization. So make sure we're completing all the activities in Nearpod to be able to explain what is it that an author is going to reveal about a chosen character based on these methods. So in this activity, you're going to read an excerpt from Romeo and Juliet. A lot of you probably read this last year, and write to explain the analysis of a character of your choice. So for this first activity, make sure you're scrolling down completely so you can see the whole thing. We're going to be talking about vocal delivery, and this is going to be for an oral performance. So someone is reading a story aloud, they're performing a poem, they're performing a speech or a monologue, or they're in a play. So this is when an actor uses his or her voice to deliver the lines. So these are going to be some elements of vocal delivery below, and we're going to be explaining why each one is critical. Why is each one important to an oral performance? We're also using the text box button to draw text boxes like we have done before, and to write our responses in. And you can also use the glossary in Springboard if you need to review any of these terms. So I'm going to click down here so we have the elements of vocal delivery: tone, pitch, volume, pace, pause, articulation, and pronunciation. And over here we're explaining why they're important. So let's say I want to talk about volume. So volume, how loud or how soft is the person talking? Are they yelling and angry and trying to get their point across? Or are they quiet and whispering and scared? So those are some things we can consider. So when we make our text box, we can put it right here. Volume can show, and then we're going to have our response. And again, you can always edit where it is. Then you can click off and click to make another text box. So same thing for pace. Pace can show. So you can have these in each box as you go along. Make sure you hit submit if there's a submit button underneath to save your work whenever you have an activity. On the next slide, we're going to see a clip from Baz Luhrmann's version of Romeo and Juliet. This is from 1996. You're listening out for the character Tybalt and his line, "Peace, peace, I hate the word." And you're going to be writing about it afterwards. This is a video embedded from YouTube, so remember you can pause and you can watch multiple times if you need to. Make sure to take notes though, because you'll be using this for the next piece. So after watching that clip, you're going to be completing the graphic organizer just about Tybalt's delivery of that one line. Like before, you're using the text box tool to explain the actor's visual and vocal delivery, as well as the inferences you make. So if we look here, visual delivery, what gestures does he make? His posture, body movement, his eye contact. For vocal delivery, what pitch does he use? Is he loud or soft? Is he speaking fast or slow? And then what can you get across? Is he scared in this scenario? Is he about to attack someone? Is he in love with someone? What's going on? So just as before, we're going to use our text box tool and explain what's going on. So for vocal delivery, he is speaking in what kind of way? And the same thing for all of these boxes. Next, you're going to be reviewing a familiar play to analyze characterization. So let's just get a quick review in. Two families, the Montagues and the Capulets, are enemies. Romeo, a Montague, has killed Tybalt, a Capulet, after Tybalt killed Romeo's best friend, Mercutio. Both sides appeal to the prince, who just so happens to be Mercutio's uncle, for justice. Benvolio pleads for the Montagues while Lady Capulet speaks for her family. As you read, consider each character's point of view on an issue of justice that leads to the prince's decree. So again, the prince is representing the law here. Both families are saying, oh, he killed him, and oh, but he killed him first. Oh, but the person he killed is related to you. So there's a lot of conflicting motivations going on here. So this excerpt is also in Springboard on pages 289 through 290. You can also take a look at the digital PDF of the text if you have access to that. So here's the beginning of it. We can see lines from the prince and from Benvolio. So the prince says, "Where are the vile beginners of this fray?" Benvolio: "O noble prince, I can discover all the unlucky manage of this fatal brawl. There lies the man slain by young Romeo that slew thy kinsman, brave Mercutio." Lady Capulet: "Tybalt, my cousin, O my brother's child, O prince, O cousin, husband, O the blood is spilt of my dear kinsman. Prince, as thou art true for blood of ours, shed blood of Montague, O cousin, cousin." So on and so forth. So we have the prince and Benvolio speaking after that. Lady Capulet comes back in. The prince, this is Lord Montague, so Romeo's father. The prince again, and the prince at the end. So the following 4 slides have your questions on them. For each one, you're going to be answering with at least 2 complete sentences. Make sure in these 2 sentences, you are including a piece of evidence in each response and some sort of commentary that's going to connect the quote to the question. So for the open-ended question, always make sure that the animation goes. So it says, explain the point of views of the Capulet and Montague families in the scene. How does each family view justice? What text evidence supports that analysis? So you can maybe say, the Capulets feel, how did they feel? The Montagues, however, and then, of course, make sure you have your text evidence to support it. And remember, you can always go right back to take a look at the scene if you need to, or you can be looking in your Springboard book. You can also refer to it by line numbers, but make sure we know what it is you're referring to. And then, same thing as before, make sure you're always hitting a save or submit button if it appears down at the bottom. Another open-ended question, same idea. What does Benvolio's retelling of the fight reveal about his character? So in the movie, this is the guy playing Benvolio representing his character. And think about how he talks about the fight. Does he say who started it? What words is he using to talk about each side? So pay attention to those details that he's choosing to emphasize and what it tells you about him as a person. For our next open-ended question, we're looking at the prince. What makes the prince a complex character in this scene? So this is the police chief in the film who plays the prince, and in the story, he is the definition of their law. So what stakes does he have in this? Does he care about either side of the family? Does he care about anyone who is involved? For this open-ended question, we're looking at themes and messages. So what message about life does Shakespeare's scene reveal? So what kind of big lessons are we learning from this? Is it a lesson about family, or revenge, or justice, or culture, or laws in general? So you've been working for a while? Maybe take a little stretch before you go on to your final task. Open-ended question again. Choose one of the characters from the scene of Romeo and Juliet. Write a paragraph, so it's going to be 5 sentences, that explains what the author reveals about that character using indirect and or direct characterization. You need to talk about at least one of the indirect characterization methods from the previous graphic organizer in Springboard, 285 to 286. So remember, all of those methods could be the way other characters talk about them. It could be what the character thinks about themselves. It could be things the character says or things the character does. Make sure you're clearly identifying the character, and you're talking at least about 2 methods of characterization. So they can both be indirect, or it can be an indirect and a direct one. and make sure we have text evidence. So again, you can go back to the previous scene to get your text evidence. So let's say I'm going to talk about Benvolio. Benvolio feels that this is revealed with indirect characterization. He says, I'm going to include a quote of what he says, which shows he also says, which shows. So those can be some examples of sentence stems to use with that. And that's it. You're done at this point. You have completed another Nearpod lesson thinking about voice, thinking about character, and helping us prepare to read Antigone later on. So as Gordon Ramsay would say, you are done. Have a good week.